here, summer of 23 at Lawrence Heritage State Park. My name is Rich. I'm the summer interpreter or tour guide here at Lawrence Heritage. And again, welcome all. Thank you for coming today to participate here in our discussion today. Today, we have our former visitor services supervisor. I'm sure you all know him, Jim, who retired from here 2 years ago. And he is our presenter today on Who's Who in the Merrimack Valley. So thank you, Jim, for coming and for offering to do a presentation today. And I will now turn it over to you.
Great. Thank you, Rich.
Welcome, Jim.
Thanks for coming out, everybody. Okay, so I offered to do this talk, which is out of my normal range of historical interest, because this talk about who's who in the Merrimack Valley, I mean, famous people from the Merrimack Valley, as historical subjects go, it's what's the word I'm looking for? It's fun. And I don't usually do fun, you know. I do immigration history, labor history, industrialization, these important themes in history that have affected Lawrence. But this one's just kind of fun. And I started thinking about this, I don't know, 25, 30 years ago, when I noticed that there was an interesting parallel between some of the most famous people from Lawrence and Lowell. And at first I had three categories of famous people from Lawrence and Lowell, and there was a very interesting parallel. And then over the years, it just kind of expanded in my mind as I I added categories, and then eventually I added Haverhill. So just curious to see if Haverhill could offer kind of the same structure as Lawrence and Lowell. First category is writers. I actually think of it as great American writers. Any guesses who we're talking about here? Robert Frost. Robert Frost is our Lawrence representative. Okay, there he is, young man. How about Lowell?
I don't have my computer with me.
That's not the idea. These people are famous. We don't have to look.
It's in there somewhere, but I can't pull it out. Yeah, I'll say Carol.
Jack Kerouac.
Oh, that's it.
That was my guy.
Yeah, very much.
All right. Now, I thought about this in another way, as in a competition between the cities to see who has the most and the best of the famous people. And that would involve kind of scoring them. And I would score them on two criteria. Number one is how important and famous they are. But number two is how deep are their roots in the city, okay? So, for example, Kerouac had very deep roots in Lowell, lived there a long time, wrote about it, several of his books are set in Lowell, and he came back to Lowell later in life. So those are very deep roots. Our Lawrence guy was Frost. He has pretty deep roots in Lawrence. He was here for 10 years or so and taught. And
Published his first poems.
He published his first poems at Lawrence High, praised his education at Lawrence High. So he has deep roots too. So, you know, that's another way to approach this if we wanted to do that. But we'd be here all day if we scored every one of these people, because I have 8 little categories. All right, Haverhill, writer. Whittier, thank you very much. All right, here he is, handsome devil. Anybody know anything about Whittier? I mean, 19th century poet, fairly prominent at the time.
Also more prominent than he was, published well over 5,000 poems on abolitionists in 100 different names. 10 names.
Wait, say that again?
His brother.
His brother.
Yeah, his brother was so at Sarah Jewish funeral with all the smoke at.
So why is this guy more famous?
Because he used his real name, where this other guy used 100 different pen names.
Okay.
And it's kind of like the Barbra Streisand effect. Barbra Streisand's sister's got a better voice than Barbra Streisand, but Barbra Streisand made a big push to sister. It's kind of seemed to be the issue.
Well, the fact that the brother was more prolific doesn't make him a better writer. But in any case, Whittier's the guy with the
Right.
historic homestead and Haverhill and another one.
He's very, right.
All right. We all set here?
How about Andre Luce?
Andre Dubus, yeah, important figure.
Greenwood Cemetery.
Yeah. Think he
I'm
beats-
making ways.
Does he beat Whittier? Yeah, I had him down here as a maybe.
And then there was the horror guy.
He's coming up later.
He's very right next to our use in the same cemetery. We go horror shows. Who's that? I'm drawing a blank on the guy's name.
No idea. All right. Let me know if it comes back to you. All right, next category. You ready? The next category is fine arts. It's a little broad, you know, it covers different specialties in the arts generally. So for Lawrence, who is our most famous practitioner in the fine arts?
You got to do that picture back there.
Well, you know, I would love to make it $1,000. But his Lawrence connections aren't that deep, and he's actually not as famous or prominent as the person I have in mind. His name is on the sign that we see along the highway. There's two names on that sign, Robert Frost and Rich is trying to conduct you. Of course. Okay.
Not very strong.
Yeah, his Lawrence roots are shallower
48 hours.
than the previous guys. Is that all?
That's how long he was here before they took him back and forth.
Okay. But he did supposedly visit because his
Yes.
aunt was here.
Yes.
And then, of course, he came here, oddly enough, to celebrate his 65th birthday.
Yes.
Little guy even did.
Huh?
The little guy even did.
Yeah, very little.
Yeah.
He was born here, but he was only here for 48 hours.
His roots are there.
No, he's found here.
He grew up in our school system. He's got it good.
No, he didn't go to school here. No, Bernstein.
Debate. Okay. Anyway, moving on. Lowell's most famous
Remember it all.
practitioner of the fine arts, and another fellow with shallow roots in Lowell.
Who was the first one?
The Lawrence one was Bernstein.
Yeah, but what's the goal?
The Lowell one, I haven't said yet. I'm hoping somebody, see if somebody has a thought. And if you don't, it's understandable, because he's not that well known as a Lowell guy. But the fellow I've got here is
James
James.
Davis?
No, that's not fine arts. Hollywood's the next
She'll be
guy.
coming down.
Yes.
James McNeill Whistler.
James.
Whistler's mother, the painter. A little like Bernstein, was born in Lowell, didn't live in Lowell for very long. And his father was an engineer who was hired to build a railroad in Russia.
Interesting.
Yeah, but there is a McNeill house in Lowell that is art gallery and historic site. Yeah.
I'm learning things today. I'm pretty happy.
Well, that's what we're doing. All right, bringing up the rear is Haverhill. Fine arts practitioner from Haverhill. Now, I had a hard time finding somebody, and she is not going to rise to the level of Bernstein and Whistler. But mine is, he's cheap.
I'll try to find that author's name for you, because it's like me.
All right, so who I've got for the fine arts from Haverhill is a woman who's, this image is from the
Or
Haverhill.
Chase Williams, she's a large actress.
No,
That's cool.
Cora Chase.
Yeah. She married Williams,
She was an opera singer.
she was also a vaudeville actress.
Well, that ain't the fine arts, but the opera is. Yeah, he was hired by the Metropolitan Opera in New York in 1920.
What's her name again?
Cora Chase Williams, and she married Samuel Thurston Williams in the owner of Newsweek magazine.
Although in the, there's a website for the big mural in Haverhill, and they have, you pass your cursor over the different images, and they give you biographical information of every person, and they call her Cora Chase. They don't use her married name. So I think as a performer, she kept it to
Correct, she did.
Cora Chase.
But when we talk about her butt noise, we also
Yeah.
feel that. That's why it's interesting.
All right, next category. I think we're going to have a lot of knowledge here. Hollywood. Thelma Todd. Beloved Thelma Todd. You know, they didn't make any movies. Only a handful.
Yes.
Which seems a little odd, as he was very popular and very talented. But actually, he's going to come up in another category. And of course, Thelma Todd's fame, in part, is due to these tragic and mysterious circumstances of her death. She was a popular Hollywood actress, although, you know, not many feature films, really, mostly the comedy shorts that she made, or supporting roles in a couple of Marx Brothers films. But her Lawrence roots were quite deep.
Who's the guy that played the Great Imposter?
Who played? Tony Curtis played the Great Imposter in the movie. He doesn't have any Lawrence connection, in my view.
More of her father is buried in.
I was thinking the guy.
I forget his name.
Ferdinand Tamara.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's coming up later, much later. All right, Lowell, Hollywood.
Betty Davis.
Betty Davis. Now, this is the case of very shallow roots in Lowell. In fact, I think she kind of denied any connection to it later in life. So that's about as shallow connection as you can get, although she's an incredibly prominent Hollywood actress, so she does have
Was that McMahon? Was he also?
big points. He's coming up. I mean, was he ever in a movie?
No.
He was in, you know, obviously Johnny Carson's sidekick, and later the host of Star Search, if I remember correctly. But we'll see him later. Last but not least, Haverhill and Hollywood. What is Haverhill's Hollywood contribution to Hollywood? Was he in any movies?
No, it's different.
He's an entertainer.
Right.
He's more of an Ed McMahon type,
Yeah.
when you think about it, and that's going to come up in another category. Now, a real heavyweight in Hollywood whose roots are in Haverhill.
James Louis B. Mayer.
Louis B. Mayer.
Oh, yes, of course.
Who was, you know, you could say he was more important in Hollywood than Betty Davis. He was a mover and shaker for decades. Okay, next category is mid-20th century popular culture. And a couple of these names have come up already. So for Lawrence, no, Lawrence.
Oh, wow.
Like you said,
Robert Goulet.
Robert Goulet.
Oh, of course.
Robert Goulet, graduate of my grammar school, St. Anne's, back in the day, who did his first public performances at the school, at the parish hall.
Yes, and Jim, those posters I put out for today, he's in one or two of those posters after you can take a look, everybody on the table there.
Yeah. Now, he made, as I mentioned before, he only made a handful of movies. And a couple in the 60s, kind of forgettable romantic comedies. And then guest appearances later on in his career when he became kind of I don't want to say a joke, but, yeah. Vegas guy. He was a villain in one of the Naked Gun movies. He does a good job. All right, popular culture, Lowell. 20th century popular culture. He's been mentioned. Ed McMahon. Yeah. Okay. Where am I? Behind you. All right. The Handsome Devil. Yeah. I'm not sure how deep his roots or his connections to Lowell were, but I don't think he ever denied it. Ed McMahon?
Jet pilot,
Ooh,
in service.
it may have been, but I wouldn't call that a popular culture.
It just interesting.
You know, the bottom category is other, so we can throw some of these other names into the other category.
I would say Bob Montana for Haven.
You would say Bob Montana for Havel. Does everybody know who Bob Montana is?
Archie Comics.
Creator of Archie Comics. And I too had Bob Montana as my Havel 20th century popular culture guy, although I have to admit I was very tempted by putting Tom Bergeron here. Bergeron is a little later than my other guys, Goulet and McMahon, but he did straddle 20th and 21st century. And he's a very Ed McMahon-like figure.
Yeah, he's from Haven.
Mostly a spokesperson with no particular talent other than being
He still owns the house in Haven.
spokesperson. But, and you know,
He's not a
in
graduate class of 98 from Haven High School.
98? So he's mostly 21st century
Yeah.
for his professional career. I thought he was earlier. Oh, okay. So,
He's
We got-
68 years old. Probably a good life leader.
all right, he's older than me. I'm 66.
He's
About to
68.
turn 67. Now, I graduated high school in 74. So he's not 98.
No, the daughter.
Oh, okay.
He said the daughter.
Not
Recent pop culture, that's a good one.
All right, well, my next category is athletes.
Oh, maybe, what was recent pop culture?
We haven't, athlete is first, isn't it?
No.
Oh, I turned him around.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. And I left it out of here.
Yeah.
So recent popular culture, I'm gonna have to jump ahead. Recent popular culture in Lawrence. She had a momentary skyrocket of fame, and I haven't heard much from her lately.
Jim, was it one of those beauty pageants?
You're very warm. He said beauty pageants.
Yeah. Oh, Castillo?
There you go. Gotta jump over the athletes. Susie Castillo, Miss USA 2004.
Okay.
And then, you know, she attempted to have a career as like a talk show host, spokesperson kind of thing, and I guess it didn't take off because I haven't heard of her for quite a while. Not that I pay much attention to that stuff. The runner-up, I should say, for popular culture in recent popular culture in Lawrence was this guy. Anybody know who that is?
He was embarrassed, Joe Perry.
No, he's got his own band.
Oh, Sully.
Sully Erna, the leader of Godsmack, which is hard rock, heavy metal, whatever you want to call it. And then, you know, fairly successful and is still at it, decades in. So, E-R-N-A. Yeah, there's more staying power than Susie Castillo, but I'd rather look at her. All right, what was that? That was 21st century popular culture. So Lowell was a little challenging for me. I mean, I've got names, but there's nobody that really jumps out. Any ideas, people?
Well,
Robert Urich?
it depends how old is old.
I know.
Robert Urich?
Not to my knowledge. It's not who I've got. Is he a Lowell guy?
He spent a lot of time, yes, he did. He lived there in Lowell during the time we were shooting that police show.
Oh, no, Tom, he lived in Andover.
Was Andover fellow?
Shooting what police show?
The one who was famous.
Vegas there.
No, the one with the hawk in it.
It took place in Vegas.
No, it didn't. It didn't. I used to watch it. I didn't think it was
Spencer.
Spencer Fire.
That's a higher.
How long was that on?
3 years.
Yeah.
That long?
85 to 88.
Then they ran the spin-off of Hawk.
Now, how much time did he spend in Lowell, really?
I don't know how to live in Lowell. I already lived in Lowell. I didn't actually have a problem with it.
Because, you know, when they film a show in a place, they'll come in for like 3 weeks to do the exterior scenes, and then all the interior scenes are shot in Hollywood, usually. Not necessarily. But I've got this guy. Another police. Wait, oh, I'm sorry. I did it again. This guy.
Oh, wow. I thought he was Randall, too.
What I read, it showed him having Lowell roots.
Okay.
He may have started in Lowell and moved to Andover as people do. Michael Chickless.
Some of the guys served from the gas company service at his house.
Where?
Over by the IRS in Andover.
He was probably born in Lowell, and then when
Yeah,
he moved to the decided to leave Andover and go to Lowell, leave Lowell and go to Andover, near the IRS, where it's really cheap.
But really, I didn't look deep enough into whether he has any deep roots in Lowell. I don't know how long he lived there. And other contenders for this was Olympia Dukakis.
Oh,
Who's a Lowell.
yeah. Right.
And,
I heard.
terrific actress. And I think her Lowell connections are beyond question.
Oh, yeah.
She's good, yeah.
All right, Haverhill, our last venue for a pop culture candidate. Pop culture, relatively recent pop culture from Lowell. Haverhill, jeez.
That gang was at the fireworks, opening load. They're off.
What are you thinking of?
They tried to duplicate Woodstock at the fireworks in Haverhill
How'd that go?
with this group. That, you know, Jenny didn't go. But I was gone at Woodstock, but if that was Woodstock music, I'm glad I wasn't there.
That's what I heard. That was
What was that?
How long ago was that?
this year.
This year, July.
That's not good enough.
Well, could it have been this guy?
Oh,
Rob Zombie.
Rob Zombie.
He lives off of Hillsdale Avenue.
the beach to be.
Haverhill.
He actually was born in Grafton somewhere, right across from the Roma. And his aunt and uncle lived at the bottom of Hillsdale Avenue behind Hillsdale Pizza.
Yeah.
Not a very wealthy family, you know.
No, but
He made money, but no one talks about him in Haverhill. The teachers didn't like him, no one liked him. And he doesn't do anything for the city. There people ask him for money and he says no.
it was the poor man.
I don't know that.
Rob Zombie.
I mean, he's successful.
Heavy metal, not heavy metal, trash metal.
Oh,
And schlock horror movies.
Shock horror movies, yeah.
Yeah, he kind of brings the horror element to his rock shows, too. Yeah.
I think it's heavy metal is the style of music. I call it trash metal, sorry.
Now, the other candidate from Haverhill would be Tom Bergeron. We've had a hard time figuring out where he fits.
that I would go with.
He may or may not be a better candidate here than Rob Zombie.
I would say depending on the recent age bracket.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
My age and a little older, Rob Zombie, Tom Bergeron. I should say a little older than me, a little younger than me.
Yeah,
Would be
but
Rob Zombie, and my age and a little older would be Tom Bergeron.
Yeah, that can go either way.
right.
All right, moving on, next category. which I think, because I reversed them, would be athlete?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, so I gotta back up here. Well, first, your guesses. Athlete from Lawrence.
We just did that.
No, not really. The guy from, his brother played for the Yankees.
Roca?
Last year, remember we did the baseball?
Oh, Billy Quinlan.
Carlos?
Bill Quinlan,
Bill Quinlan.
who was a professional
Football player, yes.
who played, I believe, for the Packers
He did.
during some of their glory years.
Bill Quinlan.
Now, I had him as a candidate. I didn't have him as my number
Yeah.
one, however.
And he isn't football, it's baseball, isn't it?
I'm
Oh,
not
remember?
sure.
Oh dear.
I don't know who you're thinking of.
And became national, he went, played nationally, not Red Sox or something, just as equal.
Relatively recent?
Don DiMaggio, that's what I was thinking.
Oh, he's got an interesting connection to Lawrence. He owns a business here. He never lived here, right?
No.
This
That I
man-
don't know.
This man was born and grew up here.
Lawrence High School.
Last year we had a luncheon, big brown bag, and we did baseball. And learned all about him, of course, can I remember that? That's my fish.
Rick did it last.
He might come up as we go on. The guy that I chose
Yeah.
as my Lawrence athlete is, I got-
Ernie Perry?
Oh, please. Fearless.
What do you mean? Oh, Ray Preston.
Ray Preston.
Yes, he's a linebacker.
Ray Preston had a 10-year career in the NFL as a starting linebacker, mostly with the San Diego Chargers. He was a 1972 graduate of Lawrence High, and I remember him playing against Central Catholic at the stadium back in the day.
I worked with him, I didn't realize he was that famous.
Really? Where'd you work with?
Crown Court Concealer in Lawrence Industrial Park. He worked there one summer, and then another guy that was trying to be a much bigger athlete than he was. He was there too.
With,
He's a nice guy, really nice guy.
obviously, before his pro career, was he in college or high school, do you think?
I'm not sure, I'm not sure.
He played college at Syracuse. Now, let's see, of course, Bill Quinlan is another very good candidate, of course. And there is also, of course, an athlete from Lawrence who we highlighted a few years ago in a program here, Edwin Lightning Santana, who fought for but lost in a title fight. It's about 20 years ago now. And he still lives here in Lawrence. He works for the city.
DPW, right?
Yeah, comes in to check our meters once in a while. All right, athlete from Lowell. Anybody? Well, he did score the winning and only touchdown in a Lawrence, in a Lowell Lawrence game back around 39, 40. Something like that.
That's about right.
Yeah, he was, and as a matter of fact, he was on an athletic scholarship when he went to Columbia.
Athletic scholarship, but I think either he got injured and couldn't play, or else he blew it by just getting interested in being careful.
Being countercultural.
He didn't graduate.
Yeah. He met Allen Ginsberg, and it was all over from there.
You say Kerouac again?
Huh?
No.
No.
No, I was.
No, we've got a somewhat stronger candidate for athlete from Lowell. There was a movie about him, a major Hollywood movie, about 10 years ago. No guesses? Still don't know who it is. Mickey Ward. Mickey Ward was champion at whatever weight class he fought at, I don't know. I believe he was played by Mark Wahlberg in the movie The Boxer, which had scenes shot in Lowell, and was kind of mostly about his druggy brother, or half-brother, I forget. But anyway, world champ, so I think he beats Kerouac on the athlete front anyway. All right, athlete from Haverhill.
Carlos Pena.
Yeah.
Is that who you were thinking of?
Carlos Pena, Mike Ryan was the catcher for the Red Sox and the Phillies during the impossible years.
Yeah.
You could get up.
But Carlos Pena had a much more significant career.
Carlos Pena's career in baseball is over. Mike Ryan, up until 8 years before he died, was in Major League Baseball.
Really?
They just stayed the field in the bench after him in Havel. And I didn't realize it, but he was a scout for the Phillies up until about 8 years before he died. So his career is on TV baseball, maybe not as big as his, but
No.
his career in baseball was a lot longer. Drafted in 61. I also had Mike Welch, who played for the A's.
What's his name?
Mike Welch.
Welch.
And Hal Jarvin.
That's good.
Mike Welch, W-E-L-C-H.
That's not good.
Born in 72.
Where's the bench in the butt?
Well, I
Up
don't have,
on High Street.
I don't have the career stats handy, but I would contend that Carlos Pena had a more significant career. He was a starting first baseman for over a dozen years.
Yeah.
Hit a lot of home runs. Apparently won a Gold Glove Award. Although he didn't hit for that.
And then Hal Jarvin played for the Red Sox in the early 1911. I had to look up his stats, but then he played for the Washington Senators for a while in the St. Louis Cardinals. Hal was around in baseball from 1911 to 1919. He died in 62.
Jabby? How do you spell it?
Hal Jarvin, J-A-V-R-A-N.
Sounds French. All right, what's left?
Wild card.
Wild card. Oh, this is my favorite. This is my
Just
favorite.
about anything.
Could be just about anything.
Lunch and time.
Andover is not one of our categories. Okay, who's the wild card from Lawrence? Name's been mentioned.
Because I got this book.
I mean, if anybody deserves the moniker of wild card, it's Ferdinand Tomorrow, the Braden Blossom.
Because containing my house all the time.
That's not, there we go. It's a nice smiling picture. If anybody's read the book, however, you know that he was not as happy-go-lucky as he's portrayed in the movie by Tony Curtis. Okay. Lowell, wild card. Famous person from Lowell. He's only a wild card because he didn't fit in the other categories. But he's an important figure.
Who was the actor that was with the,
Marty Meehan? President of the state university system?
Earlier, Senator.
Congressman. Songus could be.
he would be one, though, yeah.
They couldn't name the whole state after him. They could have renamed Alaska after Paul Songus. He's the one that gave you McKinley National Park and all the federal protection land in Alaska was Paul Songus. And then he rehabbed Lowell, they could have renamed Lowell after him too.
It wasn't just him.
So,
But anyway.
there's two people.
Well, I still think I have a candidate who's more important than anyone who's been mentioned.
Jim?
Yes.
Benjamin Butler?
Benjamin Butler. Some of you may not even know.
Was he a Civil War guy?
Among other things, yes.
And then he created Butler's, the hate thing.
And he, of course, is a handsome doe. He's a very controversial figure, reviled in the South. They called him the Beast. He was in charge of the federal occupation of New Orleans and was kind of strict with the natives, and they despised them. So much so that they made, bedpans. There's another word for bedpan. Is there another word for a bedpan?
Not that I know
You know
of.
what you're talking about, yeah.
So they made bedpans with his image in the wall. But he had another extremely important role in the very beginning of the Civil War. He was a general in charge of Fort Monroe, which was a coastal fort in Virginia. But of course, Virginia was seceded as a Confederate state. So it was a federal installation in enemy territory. Not unlike Fort Sumter, except that it was on a peninsula, it wasn't an island. So what happened early on after the war broke out was that escaped slaves went to the fort seeking freedom, asylum. And he was presented with this dilemma of what to do with them. Because they were technically property as far as Virginia goes. And he took them in, calling them contraband of war, meaning something that the enemy could use for its war-making purposes. Because they were using slaves to dig trenches and build fortifications and all that stuff. So that set the precedent for allowing slaves escaping from plantations or wherever to seek protection in federal forts. And eventually he had hundreds and thousands of slaves came in to the fort there. And he was, he made sure they were clothed and fed and housed and gave them work if they wanted work and paid them for their work. Eventually was very involved, I think, in the creation of black regiments like the 54th. And after the Civil War, he's a congressman from Massachusetts. And he switches parties. He has an interesting arc of his career because he switched parties. He was a Democrat before the Civil War and actually was not pro-abolition. He was kind of a moderate seeking to continue compromise between North and South. But during the course of the war and from his interactions with escaped slaves, he became much more sympathetic and actually active in promoting the freedmen's rights, and was a prominent radical Republican in the Congress in the years after the Civil War, Reconstruction, and so on. Benjamin Franklin Butler. And there's a great new, and I just read his biography a few months ago, so there's a great new biography about him. This is a really interesting character. And he continued supporting the federal military presence in the South, which was trying to hold back the resurgence of white supremacy in the South with KKK terrorism, etc. And he hung on trying to suppress that longer than most of the Republicans in Congress, who, like a lot of people in the North, started to just give up on it, saying that the South will never let equality rule. So he stuck with that as long as he could, and eventually I think he also served as governor of Massachusetts.
And ran for president on a third party
He
ticket.
ran for president on the third party ticket, which we all know is the road to success. But just an amazing character. All right, one more in the wild card, our Haverhill wild card. Any candidates?
And Hezekiah Judson, Hannah Dustin.
Oh, I didn't even have that.
And Donald Atwood.
Who's that?
Donald Atwood was the education director under President Bush.
Really?
Yeah, and when he died, actually, President Bush was retired at that what was he? The father, President Bush. He also worked in the Reagan administration. And
Say the name again?
Donald Atwood Jr. The family owns Atwood Memorial too, in Havel. The Atwoods have been around as long as the Dustins have been around.
I thought he was dead.
Well, Hannah Dustin's certainly a more
Canada is micro.
prominent historical figure.
Yes,
I actually had somebody else who probably doesn't rate the top rating. Who? What you got? Oh, okay, yeah, he's in, well, he's in the others.
Okay.
We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it.
Ian Hazeltine Jackson was a missionary who died in India with the Bradford Academy.
Okay.
They named Hazeltine all that. But she died in India. In fact, she's buried in India. She didn't want to leave.
Canada.
Who
Well,
would you have?
probably. Here's who I have.
Yeah.
Everybody recognize this handsome fellow?
No.
Thomas Sanders.
Roland Macy.
Oh, Roland H. Macy's, yeah.
Maybe.
Found
Yeah.
Macy's department stores.
Downtown stores, downtown. In
Tried to stop.
fact, you've seen the movie Miracle on 34th Street. Anybody?
Yeah.
Okay, you know when she walks into the office and she thinks she's gonna get fired because Santa Claus is telling everybody to go to Pringles? When you walk in, the plaque on the wall behind Mr. Macy's when he's opening up the door is his Saginaw Lodge plaque to the Masons. Well, every time Mr. Macy's was in a movie, you had the only request he had was to have a Saginaw. He was very proud to be a Mason.
That wouldn't have been this guy.
Yeah, the real Mr. Macy's was, yes.
The movie is late
Correct.
1940s.
Correct, when Mr. Macy's was in the movie, he wanted his Saginaw, when he was in the movie early on. Roland H. Macy's died,
Didn't know he was in the movie.
when did he die? I forgot when he died. All right, that one I forgot.
I mean, by the time of Miracle on 34th Street, it might have been his son or something like that. I don't know. I don't remember.
Roland H. Macy.
But we have a contest here: Dustin or Macy. Hannah Dustin or Roland Macy.
Dustin.
Mary goes for Hannah Dustin.
Must have been his son, because Roland H. Macy died in 77. That's 1877.
8.
Really?
Yeah, just look him up, that's right, me on that. Roland.
All right. Well, I guess
And
Dustin is the consensus winner. I mean, I know she's a little controversial, but prominent is prominent, right?
She has a statue, doesn't she?
Say again?
She has a statue, doesn't she?
I think so.
Yes.
Boy,
okay.
is there a record for that? With her address?
When I'm in the Boston area.
Yeah.
Very much.
But she is the table, she is the
Yeah.
bread. They keep putting that bread in the table.
This now is Potty, before it was Grafton, and before that it was Groveland, and before that it was Raleigh.
It's a new transplant to Havel. I can't see bread in the Havel.
Oh, okay. Because you live the furthest away, that's why. You lived over the other side, you're on Merrimack Line, you are.
Right, on Havel.
All right. Last category is not a real category. It's just a catch-all for other famous or semi-famous people from our three fair cities. Louise mentioned Ernest Thayer, who, as we all, Ernest Thayer, who composed, what did he compose?
Casey in the back.
Casey at the Back. There you go.
So he's probably been quoted more often than probably not.
You was talking about him on the steps over there, near the Masonic Hall.
Yes.
Years ago.
Yes, I
Uh,
remember that.
What did he do?
It was a presentation of Casey at the back. He was good at stuff like that. You know, and, yeah.
Any other also-rans? I mean, others?
Yes, it's gonna bug me on the rest of the afternoon. Who was the actor that was on, the chief actor was a bus driver, and he lived in a
Art
park.
Carney. No.
What was it?
No,
Art
Jackie
Carney.
Gleason was the bus driver. Art Carney was the sewer guy.
Yeah.
Jackie Gleason.
Frankie Fontaine.
There's another one, yeah, no, not Frankie.
I forget what city it is.
No, Lawrence, that's what I'm thinking.
Lawrence?
See, Lawrence Lowell. Oh, come on. That's a good one, who is they live. The main guy was, you know.
If you're like me, it'll come into your brain at some point in the future.
I mean, are you thinking of Jackie Gleason as the bus
Yeah,
driver?
there's Jackie Lee. Who was the,
Art Carney.
no, wasn't he Lawrence Lowell, one of the other?
Maybe right.
Probably Lowell.
Yes, I would say Lowell.
If he was Lawrence, I don't know. Probably would have heard of him.
I think with that, I didn't believe that they were very big.
Yes.
I can't.
I think you're right.
He was great.
Jim, how about maybe Father James O'Reilly?
Yes.
Well, he's only famous if you know Lawrence history.
We really are.
Which we all should know. Yeah, 39
We could
years.
equally name all the prominent IWW people from
Yes,
this.
Exactly.
true.
Oh,
Right.
well, no, O'Reilly was here for 50 years.
Yeah, right. 39 years pastor at St.
Yeah.
Mary's.
Any other impacts on Lawrence besides what he did during the strike?
Yeah.
Has everybody ever heard of Louis Cyr, C-Y-R? The French-Canadian strongman? He was like a circus performer and whatnot in the 19th century. He was from Lowell, or at least had significant Lowell roots.
What's his name?
Louis Cyr, C-Y-R. Look him up, it's great photos of him.
You had a picture of him up there or no?
I don't know his picture. Didn't download that one. Leo Penn, Sean Penn's father.
From Lawrence.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And he was an actor and director.
They owned the drugstore too, if I remember correctly.
I think that was the previous generation, but.
Yeah. Leo Penn. Yeah.
I wish I could get in my,
Lawrence.
Jim, where was stuff?
Lawrence.
it was fun.
We're not done yet. What city wins?
Oh, we
Who's getting best in the north?
didn't do Haverhill yet.
We didn't do Haverhill for others?
Oh, so
Well, Lowell, Louis Cyr.
Yeah.
I had Songus as another because he didn't fit the other categories. I don't have any others for Haverhill, although.
I got John C. Chase and Louis Alta.
No idea.
John C. Chase was the first social player in the United States.
Oh, I like that.
And Louis Alta was a movie Hollywood review in 19, he played the piano, and he was My Kind of Love, You Turned the Tables on Me. So he won some awards.
What's the name?
Louis Alta. He was nominated for Academy Awards in Dolores Melody from the Sky, and he was inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame in 1975.
Oh,
Hall of Famer.
yeah, that's good.
Impressive.
There's a picture of young Louis Alta.
I want a picture of Louis Cyr.
Okay, I'll look him up for you.
Do we have a winner? Or I think we're going to have another session.
What time are we in right now? What's the year we're in now?
What?
What's the year we're in now? So who are we going to expect to win?
Well, I think we're all objective historians.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God.
So we should have another session where we go through them one by one.
Yeah, here's Louis Cyr.
Oh, you gotta get a picture with his, when he's in there are photos where he's just wearing
Like this?
Well, that's more like it.
Yeah, that's more like it.
That's a 19th century strongman.
Yeah. Good, help.
All right. Well, in any case, that's all